Hello, and welcome to Coffee with Coach. You probably thought no pastor lives in a mansion. Well, you'd be wrong. Stick around, and I'll tell you why. I'm Steve Petty, and I have 3 goals for these videos to help you become a better pastor and leader, to save you time and money, to help educate, motivate, and energize you to motivate and energize your church. So, the problem is, how best can we understand the nature of our church so that we can lead it appropriately? The basic idea for this series on understanding your church comes from the 1984 book Looking in the Mirror by Lyle Schaller. It seems obvious that the skills needed to care for a collie would be vastly different from those needed to run a mansion. Some churches are so large, you might think of them as mansions. People who worship in a congregation of 225 to 450 are attending a church that represents only 9% of all churches nationwide. Please take a moment to notice that the bracket enlarged. House churches are 175 to 225, a bracket of only 50. But mansions double the breadth, so the bracket is 225 wide. Though it represents less than 10% of all churches nationwide, over 25% of people in church on Sunday morning are worshiping in mansions. This is a very attractive sized church to many people. Its physical size may be imposing and mansion-like. People walking by may think that's just too big for them to ever walk in there. The mansion will require maps around the buildings to help people find their way to different rooms. It is much more likely that a person can be totally anonymous in the mansion than in the house. In the house, many longtime members know and can name 80% of the membership. In the mansion, most longtime members would be lucky to identify 20%. The mansion has its many rooms, many staff, many ministries, small groups, outreach ministries, missions, spiritual growth groups, age-level fellowships, and peripheral associations. Just keeping track of which group is meeting in which room is a big job. Maintaining the structure in readiness and cleanliness takes a small army of custodians and janitors. People will gravitate to the mansion because it can provide more programs which run at a higher degree of excellence than in the house. The mansion will have more resources to spend on its operations, ministry, productions, and outreach. In a mansion, more people will also attend anonymously, desiring only to fill pews on Sunday and remain uninvolved. Operating the mansion is very expensive. The building is expensive to maintain. The staff is expensive to pay. The programs are expensive to operate. The level of expectation is higher, and the cost of meeting those expectations is higher. The staff of the mansion is more highly trained and more vertically specific than in the house. The mansion could not run without its staff. The mansion is more likely to have more than one full-time clergy on the staff. The senior pastor will be able to leverage his or her best talents into specific tasks to accomplish and split off those areas of weakness to associate pastors to pick up the slack. The senior pastor of this size church will be personally attractive, charming, an effective communicator both in the pulpit and in leadership roles. This person may not know everyone in the church, but he or she has the ability to make people feel the pastor's personal care, even when meeting strangers. To an even greater extent than with the house, the senior pastor must be an effective team leader, coordinator, and communicator, someone who is happy to delegate authority with complete trust and never micromanage or undercut the staff. But the complexity of the larger staff, greater outreach, enlarged ministry, and building maintenance issues require a greater degree of efficiency and attention to details. The senior pastor will know how to prioritize goals, when to shift directions, how to communicate new directions to the staff and membership, and oversee projects to completion. The pastor who manages a house wisely can grow that house, adding rooms and buildings, ministry and staff until it becomes a mansion. Many of the same skills are needed in both churches. The pastor who comes to a mansion having never led a house-sized church will have a steep learning curve. If a new pastor is unable to manifest the skill set required to lead the house and mansion, the results can be devastating and rapid as the staff begins to create opportunities for internal fighting over diminishing resources. The key lay leaders watching this will either participate in the infighting or decide to quietly resign their positions and attend a more harmonious church elsewhere. When key staff and key lay leaders leave, the congregation quickly realizes that the church programs and ministries that fed them wonderfully in the past are no longer done with the same joy and quality. When they realize they are not being fed, they will seek another source and move on. Some will leave quietly. Some will complain vociferously. Some will try to blow up the mansion before they leave. In all cases, the results are disastrous. It takes years to build a mansion to full operational strength. It takes comparatively little time to destroy it. Once the mansion has lost its full operational strength, it is impossible to rebuild. The mere weight of the building costs and staffing costs upon a diminishing giving base simply crush all attempts to rebuild. The major problem for the senior pastor of a mansion are maintaining the financial base to afford its buildings, staff, and ministries, and increasing the membership to grow to the next level, a ranch. An average attendance of 450 seems to create a very firm ceiling that most churches are unable to break through. New members may continue to join, but the average attendance will level off and even decline if the leadership is not careful about its guidance and intentional about making the substantial changes necessary to become a ranch. Is your church a mansion? Next week, we'll talk about the ranch. If you like these videos, I hope you'll click on the subscribe button over there. Love to have you as one of my subscribers. And if you have any questions, you can email me at steve@revstevep.com. I'd love to hear from you. Or you can always comment here on the YouTube station. That'll do it for today. Talk to you next week.